From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
An amazing mural.
Mother Nature finally was like, fine, she's doing the mural. I'm just gonna let her go.
See what it takes to craft something so large on the side of a grain silo. Inflation continues to ease, but is it enough to cut interest rates? As farm country finances continue to feel the pinch.
You have to go all the way back to the Depression era in the early 1930s to find bigger percentage declines.
Why last year's financial forecast could be changing as well. Right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer.
Ben's bins, please hold.
Yeah, Ben's has been busy all day.
Seems like no one can keep up with this new Z series. What did you all put in these seeds?
Science.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Roy. Clinton is on vacation. While USDA is already expecting a big drop in net farm income this year, some experts believe the agency may soon revive last year's farm income even lower as well. That's due to the fact that so many farmers are holding on to more grain from last season amid lower commodity prices. University of Missouri ag economist Ben Brown says as of today, USDA says 2023 net farm income fell 16% compared to 2022. And 2024 net cash farm income is expected to see a more than 24% drop, coming in at $121.7 billion, resulting in a drop of more than $92 billion from 2022 to 2024.
At over $90 billion of a drop over a 2-year period, that's certainly the largest dollar value adjusted for inflation that we've seen in the history. It exceeds the previous record set in the mid-1970s. When it comes to percentage changes, we've seen larger percentage changes, but you'd have to go all the way back to the Depression era in the early 1930s to find bigger percentage declines.
Brown says farm financial stress is showing up in liquidity, which is a farmer's ability to pay off short-term debt without sacrificing the structure of their business. Keeping an eye on financials, the Federal Reserve's key inflation gauge released on Friday met expectations. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index rose 2.5% over a year ago, but it was down 0.1% from May. Now it's due to supply chain improvements, a cooling of the housing market, falling prices for energy and medical services. The data provides further evidence that inflation is continuing to moderate closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% target. One analyst I spoke with says the Fed funds futures point to rates staying status quo in this week's FOMC meeting.
I think the Fed still has its game plan in place. And according to what the market thinks, what the market's showing us as far as Fed fund futures forward curve, always fun to say, we can still see that, right now the market's thinking that the initial rate cut will come in at the end of the September meeting, not necessarily next week as the July meeting comes to an end, I believe on the 31st, but pushing it back to the September and then possibly again in November. So, it just seems like everything's still in place.
While the inflation trend is encouraging, the core index stayed at 2.6% when expectations were for a decline. Plus, the stronger than expected GDP growth and robust labor market may give the Fed reason to remain cautious about cutting rates too quickly. Happening right now, crews continue to work to get the upper hand on fires burning in the West. Multiple communities in Idaho were evacuated after lightning strikes sparked fast-moving wildfires. In California, the state's largest wildfire was 0% contained at the end of last week after destroying 134 structures and threatening 4,200 more. A sheriff says they believe the fire was started by a man who pushed a burning car into a gully. Officials have arrested a 42-year-old man who is expected to be arraigned later today. Crews could really use some rain to help fight those fires. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter has a look ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like a lot of us will be seeing all that relief from the rainfall. Precipitation outlook looks pretty dry, unfortunately, for the western part of our country, especially past the Rockies where they're dealing with those wildfires. Except, though, out east, we will be seeing above average amounts of precipitation falling down. It's because of this ridge pattern that is going to be setting up in the upper atmosphere. I'll break that down in my full forecast in just a little bit. But we do have a flooding potential for Monday and Tuesday, where in the eastern part of the United States of America. Kentucky and West Virginia needs to watch out and be very mindful when it comes to flooding and excessive rainfall for sure. And it looks like a great day for picking sweet corn. And that's what folks are doing at this farm in Baroda, Michigan. Looks like a great crop so far this year, and you can bet it'll have that farm fresh taste. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
State officials in Colorado say 3 more people are reported to have avian flu in the state. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment reporting the additional cases among farm workers in Weld County. Now, officials say the workers who were culling birds with highly pathogenic avian influenza at an egg farm are receiving antiviral treatment. This brings the total confirmed human cases of HPAI to 13 this year, with cases in Colorado, Michigan, and Texas. The cases include 4 workers from dairy farms and 9 from poultry farms. Health officials continue to say the risk of the general public getting avian flu remains low. An Oklahoma man and a juvenile are in custody in Oklahoma, accused of killing more than a dozen cattle. The cattle belong to monks at a Shawnee monastery. The Daily Oklahoman reporting 18-year-old Christopher Wallace was charged with 4 complaints of cruelty to animals and 2 counts of larceny of livestock. A police spokesperson said the case involving the juvenile was sent to a government agency. It's reported the cattle were allegedly killed with a crossbow, and officials believe the motive was thrill-seeking rather than for the animal's meat. A priest for St. Gregory's Abbey telling the newspaper about 14 cattle on the property were killed, costing the monastery about $35,000. The monks sell the beef as part of the Abbey's Mission Monks label. Corn, soybeans, and wheat all dropped to end last week. I'll look into the reasons behind it coming up. And later, a giant mural that captures the beauty of rural America. Meet the artist behind this amazing display in the country. The world's largest producer of ammonia is moving forward with a big carbon capture project. CF Industries announcing plans for its plant in Yazoo City, Mississippi. The company is saying it will invest approximately $100 million into the complex to build a CO2 dehydration and compression unit. Once operational, it says it will be able to manufacture products with a substantially lower carbon intensity compared to conventional ammonia production sites. It signed an agreement with ExxonMobil for the transport and sequestration of the CO2. It's expected to be up and running at the start of 2028. Down day in the grains on Friday. Darren Fry with Water Street Solutions is back with analysis. A down day on Friday, Darren, in the grains. Felt risk off, but was some of that kind of removing some weather premium, or was it just some profit taking?
Well, I think it was a combination of a few things. The weather did go a little wetter. Cluster storms, northwest flow into parts of South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, maybe reaching a little bit further south and west than what maybe the traders had thought previously. So earlier in the week, last week. And then, of course, maybe a little less hot as well. And so that was a big part of it. But then we had some other news around the biofuels, and I think it was just profit taking as well ahead of a weekend after the markets had been up for a couple days.
Darren, we also saw corn and soybean oil down pretty hard. Do you think it was, in addition, a result to some news about small refinery exemptions?
Nobody knows. The decision is still sealed, but I did see it out on Twitter that the RFS is reconsidering that blanket ruling back in 2022 to make small refineries comply and not have those exemptions. And so if this is true, then small refineries might be able to get out of blending.
So Darren, December corn down over 11 cents on Friday. November beans down about 31 cents. How much technical damage did we do?
Well, on the daily, we did quite a bit. Now, we could reverse all that, obviously, if the right things fell into place. The weekly actually closed higher, 6 cents on corn roughly and 14 on beans, but the type of candle we put in was really damaging, and it would project that we're going to go lower and make new lows in both of these markets.
Do you think whether if we stay hot and dry here, the market's going to rebound? And what happens here going into the Fed meeting?
Well, the Fed meeting's going to be coming up here at the end of the month, here in a few days. And obviously, what Powell decides and what we do with interest rate cuts are going to have a lot to do with the stock market, our commodity markets, the dollar valuation. Obviously, if they cut, dollar's going to go down. That's going to be supportive to our commodities. So that'll be a big deal. But also people positioning ahead of the WASDE, as well as what are the weather forecasts doing.
No doubt. Thanks for joining us during Water Street Solutions. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rourke on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
For marketing strategies specific to your operation, contact Water Street Solutions at 866-249-2528 or online at www.waterstreetconsulting.com.
Again, looking like our next feature is going to be pretty warm, especially out west past the Rockies. We can see just above average temperatures as a high ridge of high pressure will start to work its way into our forecast. And it looks like the only people actually in the country that will be at average temperatures is, funny enough, South Texas. And it doesn't really happen all that much, especially this time of year in the summer. Drought monitor, though, it's actually not too bad, especially for parts of the Midwest and the eastern part of the Great Plains. We are seeing some above average dryness down in western Texas and New Mexico. Also up there in Montana, we are starting to see a little bit of dryness work its way into the forecast just a little bit. And if we make our way out east, we can see actually right around the Washington, D.C. area, we are seeing an above average of dryness out there. So hopefully this upcoming week, we can finally work in some relief in the way of rain. All right, let's go ahead and break down our jet stream because this is our main driver of temperatures and also of weather. We can see this ridge starting to build from South Texas all the way up through the Dakotas and just gradually getting tighter and tighter. Again, that jet stream, the river of warm air and cool air. That cool air is way up there in Canada. And as I put this in motion, we can start to see this ridge starting to form. And this here, this slide that's going to be coming through the Great Lakes area and Midwest is going to be that form that rain is going to be getting into the eastern part of our country where we saw that flooding potential earlier today. Dodge City, Kansas, high of 102, 78. Watertown, New York, 80 degrees, 69 degrees with some chances of rain and thunder. And Glendive, Montana, 81 degrees and 62 degrees as the low.
Still ahead, Machine Repeat takes a look at the prices of cotton picking equipment these days. Plus, how an Indiana community is helping the history of International Harvester live on. And later, a spectacular piece of artwork has just been completed in rural America. You'll meet the artist behind it coming up. Machine Repeat knows a thing or two about northern ag equipment sales, but he's also taking an interest in equipment needed in the South these days.
Well, folks, I never know what's going to catch my eye on a week-to-week basis out on the auction market. And I guess that's been the big fun these last 34 and a half years, tracking the market on a daily basis. Now, last week, I'd have to say cotton pickers were what caught my eye, which is always fun for a northern boy like me from Minnesota. Now, last Wednesday down in Tunica, Mississippi, good folks at DeWitt Auction Company had a huge sale. And on that sale were 5 22 model John Deere CP 770 cotton pickers. Late model rigs, wow. And sale prices, the highest one went for $701,000, another one at $700,000, one at $695,000, and a pair at $612,500. Big dollars there spent last Wednesday in Mississippi. Now, that's late model cotton pickers. It did make me think of the opposite end of the spectrum. Recently, I was out in Rock Valley, Iowa. I was filming a Machine Repeat YouTube video preview for quite a sale coming up August 16th by Zomer Company Auction and Realty. Minneapolis Moline Collector. Now, not just tractors, but also combines, choppers, plows, drills, airport tugs, forklifts, And in shed number 3, as we were filming, way in the back corner was a Minneapolis Moline cotton picker. Not something I was expecting to see in Rock Valley, Iowa. Again, that sale's coming up August 16th. Now, I would say one other item really caught my eye last week was a combine. Also last Wednesday, our friends in Big Iron on their online auction, this thing came out of Harper, Kansas. It was a beautiful 2013 model Case IH 9230 combine, 1,386 engine hours on it. So for $193,500, that's the highest auction price in over 3 years on a Case IH 9230 combine.
Thanks, Pete. And you know, Machinery Pete is going to want to check this out. It's a museum that's going up in celebration of the history of International Harvester. The new museum will be built in New Haven, Indiana. The original museum in Allen County is having to move after the local government announced plans to build a correctional facility on the current property. The new museum will be located just off Interstate 469, and it will be called the Harvester Homecoming Museum. It's based off of an annual Harvester Homecoming event in the area, which celebrates International Harvester. The museum will initially be 30,000 square feet and will feature the area's contributions to manufacturing of trucks and farm equipment.
This museum will be more than just a tribute to the past. It will be a beacon of the region's rich manufacturing and engineering heritage. IH Collection celebrates innovation in trucks, farm equipment, and household goods that have shaped the lives of countless families in Northeast Indiana and beyond.
Officials hope to start construction on the new museum before 2026. Still ahead, another tribute to farm life, and it's a big one. Meet the artist behind this amazing work of art in the country. We showed you briefly last week on AgDay an amazing mural painted on the side of a grain silo. It's in the town of Inman, Kansas. This morning we hear from the artist behind this amazing work of art. Farm Journal's Ty Morgan spoke with her.
A work of art.
It's really fun.
That started with a grain silo as her blank canvas.
It is 108 feet tall and 49 feet wide, to be exact.
Inman, Kansas is now home to Mindy Allen's largest mural painting yet.
Largest on all aspects. I mean, largest as far as time frame, size, budget, exposure, every single thing about it. This is the biggest that I've ever done.
Allen is a full-time mural artist based in Kansas, and her latest masterpiece is one that took her weeks to complete.
It took me 6 weeks, but I had to take a lot of days off because of weather. Between the wind and the rain, it just, Mother Nature finally was like, fine, she's doing the mural. I'm just going to let her go. So she finally let me finish it.
But other than the weather, her biggest challenge in creating this giant mural was her lift.
The speed of the lift. Sometimes it just takes a long time to get up to the top or to get to where you want to go, and just maneuvering the lift and making it get to the right spot.
But the process of actually painting the mural is no easy feat, and it's a process that all starts with a digital drawing.
And so then with the digital drawing, I when I know the exact height and width of the building, then I can put those measurements onto my digital drawing. I use a method called a doodle grid. And so I basically just spray paint doodles all over the wall where I'm going to have like main parts of the drawing. And then I take a photo of those doodles and layer those over top of my digital drawing. So then I use that as a grid. And so then I can go back in, and with spray paint, I just sketch everything out and draw it so that I know where things are, and then I can start painting.
From the digital drawing of the mural on the left to the actual finished product on the right, it all started with one man.
The picture of the farmer standing there and looking at all this, so many of us can drive up to that and say, that is my dad. I can see my dad doing that. And so that just tells the whole story of what it's all about.
A man on a mission, he wanted to draw attention to their museum. So he contacted Allen to bring his idea to life.
Without him, it wouldn't have been possible. And with them adding on to the museum, he's really hoping that this would give that a push as well, and, help make that more possible too.
What started as a dream has turned into a picture-perfect reality that's now a new attraction for this rural Kansas town.
I love painting, of course. I love, doing the murals, but I think that is so rewarding when I finish the mural to be able to see how it has affected everybody else as well. So that to me is my favorite part, is just knowing that so many people are seeing it and so many people are having a reaction to it and appreciating it. To me, that's what makes it all worth it.
Thanks, Time. That's all the time we have for this morning. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Michelle Rook. Have a great day.